Hey folks, welcome back to the program. I'm here at the undisclosed location somewhere in South Africa.
Yeah, keep it undisclosed.
With Morning Shots, Roman Cabanac. How's it going there?
Yeah, good.
So, you keeping well?
There's another shit day in Africa, as they say. Look at this, middle of winter, the sun's shining, a bit of wind in our face. I'd rather be in a 40 square meter flat in London, to be honest. But anyway.
Well, let me ask you this question. Did I see some social media stuff where you went to a country recently?
I went to a country that cannot be named.
Okay. Are you able to tell people or no?
No, I went to Russia. Yes, I know. I released a video already on my travels.
What's it like being a communist? Do you like it?
Russia was
Do you want my
communist.
stuff?
If I wanted to see a communist country, I'll go to America at the moment. They lock up political prisoners and impeach.
Check, please, check. Well, there are political prisoners in America.
But at least in Russia, they kill political opposition.
Well, they send them to the gulag.
Yes,
too,
which is far more.
It's remote.
It's more fair because you know what you're up against.
Yeah.
But no, Russia's not communist at all. It used to be, of course. But
Really?
I was quite impressed with Moscow. First time I've been there. The what?
The Saint.
Who's the
Val
Saint?
Kilmer before he blew up.
Oh, the Saint, 1997.
Yeah,
It's a very old movie.
You remember, yeah. It's a great movie.
I have a very good memory for movies.
Yeah,
No, Russia's very interesting. They've got a very interesting strategy to give energy to remote areas, especially in the north, to create a
small modular reactors?
That's right. And so they use icebreaker reactors.
Okay.
And they're powering these small towns of 5,000 people in the Arctic Circle to create a northern trade route to bypass the Suez.
Oh, so they're buying into this climate change that it's all going to be free ocean, ice free?
Well, they've got icebreakers ready to break the ice, but they're not at all into.
Yeah, we have one icebreaker. That's it.
Really?
The U.S. is down to one icebreaker. How sad is
I
that?
think Russia has 6.
You're right. We're an Arctic nation. We have one icebreaker.
Oh, right. Yeah. So they have 6.
Sad.
So they want to bypass this in case the Suez falls apart or something.
Or a ship runs into the side.
Or the Houthis. Deploy a nuclear bomb. They want alternative routes, which is what they're doing. So they invited myself and 12 other journalists from around the world to go look at this floating nuclear reactor.
Damn, I didn't get that email.
In a place called Pivek. And it was very interesting. A town of 5,000 people has a school that looks like a private school in Johannesburg.
Yep.
Got a theatre.
Okay.
It's got shops. It's got all the usual
They've got
amenities. Well, there is. I didn't see any police officers, but there is an administration office.
People aren't rioting in the streets and burning tires.
Well, it's too cold.
Well, they might burn tires to stay warm.
Yeah, but you got a small town, imagine like an Orania level town, powered by a nuclear reactor. I think it's fantastic. It's brilliant.
Well, that's what I've been arguing for a long time. I mean, you can put these small modular reactors. That's been my argument for a long time. Nuclear. It's insane. At South Africa, instead of doing that, we got Andre de Ruyter pushing renewables, and then he's pushed aside. And Eskom, keep claiming that, hey, well, we've solved load shedding. No, 6 gigawatts of energy is being generated by rooftop and wind turbines that people are providing on their own. That's why you don't have load shedding.
Yeah, well, we try to have a nuclear deal, but then,
Oh, with Rossad, in fact.
Rossad, indeed. So, but unfortunately, foreign-funded NGOs ran to court and stopped that because a lot of these foreign-funded NGOs don't want South Africa to be competitive. And it's not just us; it's everywhere else.
Because the grift was in with Jay-Z.
There wasn't even a costing. They didn't even sign the deal.
So we couldn't even figure out what the grift could have been.
It was a build, own, and maintain. So the Rossad would pay for it, would build it, and would maintain it. Where's the grift?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Compare that to the IPPs, though.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. All right, well, so now that you're back from the no longer communist land of Russia, you're back in the land of, jacarandas.
Former communist land of South Africa.
Well, pseudo-communist land of South Africa.
True.
All right, so for those tuning in, you know that we just had a recent little event here called Elections in South Africa. And Roman is on record, I believe, saying that that this is probably not a bad outcome. I know I said that. I said it's the best, least worst option. And Sean's looking for me. I'm over here. Sorry. So is that a fair statement? Is it the best, least worst option?
I mean, listen, there were so many alternatives for the ANC. Everyone for the past decade is saying it's obviously ANC and EFF and Zimbabwe 2.0.
Oh, they'll never let go of power if they lose an election?
And exactly the opposite has happened. They got into bed with their mortal enemies, who they've called, apartheid lovers, who they've called white
monopoly capitalists,
all sorts of
racist,
things.
colonizers.
And they're into bed with liberals. I'm not a liberal, but whatever. And I think it's fantastic. Only because it just shows in South Africa there's always like when push comes to shove, you sort of go back to the center.
Yeah.
And then it becomes radical again. I'm not saying this is Wakanda.
Oh, yeah, no,
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you always go back to the center under pressure. And I think for once the DA has power, something I would never think I would see in my lifetime, but we do have it. And when you have enemies working together, I think that tends to last longer than if you have friends working together. Mostly because the ANC, EFF, and MK have the same voters.
Also, I think the argument you're making there is that the interesting thing is that friends can betray friends, but enemies, betrayal is expected.
They have different constituencies.
That's
so
true.
they're not in competition to each other.
That's a good point.
And that's very important
that's
to
what will
understand.
prevent the betrayal, potentially.
Indeed.
Well, there you go.
ANC collapsing in KZN, so IFP is no longer a competition to the ANC. The DA has all the minorities, and the ANC has an overwhelming black majority, or overwhelming in terms of how many people voted.
Sure.
These are not in competition.
Yeah.
So you can have a very good relationship.
Yeah, potentially, absolutely. But the devil's in the details. We're waiting to see what Ramaphosa will announce for his cabinet, and I've told my viewers my expectations. Any thoughts? You want to play the role of senior von Rensburg and say which ministries will go to the DA?
So I think it's difficult to say because the one issue, a lot of people are saying this agreement's not good enough. They had 10 days to do it. I mean, they had the Constitution says you have to have
2 weeks to get this done. So
it's not even a real agreement yet. It's in principle an agreement.
It's in works.
But there's no details.
Yeah.
And that's fun. It's 14 days. It's really difficult to get a lot of things done. I think they're going to try give the DA and the IFP and the PA and whoever else is there ministries that aren't that important.
Like tourism.
No, not really, but they'll give them like infrastructure stuff maybe. Like, okay, fix water, you can do it. But it's not going to really detract from...
It doesn't take the power away from the ANC.
No, no. If the ANC controls the security cluster, if the ANC controls police, army, foreign affairs... Intelligence...
They still run the country.
Let the DA...
Like Mugabe in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, let the DA fix stuff. Great. We'll take credit when the credit is due.
That's
right?
what they did to the FDC. That's exactly what I said was going to happen. That's what happened.
Yeah, so I think with the devil's in the details, we'll know sooner rather than later. But if the DA does get one of those key ministries of real power, that's a real game changer. But it's too early to tell.
And I think that the key ministries there could be finance. Police, of course, would be one of them. I don't think if they got foreign, that would be, there's no way they're going to do that. But if they got all of those, would be a game changer.
I don't know if I trust them with foreign.
No, I don't think I do either. Quite frankly, I don't trust the DA either. But there goes that interview with John Steenhuisen. That's not going to happen now. Still waiting for Helen. Anyway, she did promise an interview.
But we'll see. I mean, I think they're still negotiating which positions exactly for which people. But I think if they can get, I think the ANC will want to give them a lot of the administrative stuff with the budget. But knowing full well that the DA might perform quite well in terms of reforming water or making the ports.
There's an upside for the ANC as well. I mean, if the DA improves finance and improves SARS and brings more tax revenue in, that's more for them to steal.
Indeed, very much so. Very much so. So I don't think that the ANC has become centrist or Mandela-esque.
No.
It's the balance of power. So they're like, listen, we're 40%. It's a shock. Not really, they knew it was coming. So we can either go full retard and go like with EFF and MK.
Well, you're not watching Retardistan right now.
No. Or we can just say, okay, balance of forces. Let's go back to the center, the pragmatic center. People vote for us due to living conditions improving, which has happened until the last decade or so. And that's why they're losing. So let's go back to the center. Let's go into bed with our mortal enemies. Let's improve the situation for 5 years. And then we can tell them to piss off in 5 years' time and retain control of the country maybe after that. Who knows?
I think that's probably the game plan here. It's this smart. Look, the ANC is actually in a tough spot. I mean, the last thing they wanted to do was form a coalition with MK or EFF. Yeah. And that was highly unlikely. I mean, when I gave my scenarios a couple months ago, I called that the Armageddon and Doomsday scenario, but I said it was highly unlikely unless the ANC was driven well below 40% and they were desperate. That didn't happen. But they don't have a lot of options here. They could have done this alliance, which would have not been very good. It would have been a mess. They could have gone ANC, EFF, and PA, got them over 50%. But that would have been fractious, and it would have worked against their own interest. And also, so of course the EFF is going to call for a no confidence vote in Ramaphosa, but the DA has already said, Helen Zille said, we're not going to vote for it. So isn't it ironic? And now people are attacking the DA because, so now you're okay with Pala. It's not that. It's a matter of pragmatism.
It's real politique, right?
Yes.
Your friend and your enemy distinction, like Carl Schmitt, who's one of my favorite philosophers in this endeavor. they change.
Exactly.
When the context changes, you change your ideas about what to do.
When
That's
the facts
very
and the
simple.
truth change, you have to alter.
Absolutely.
Yep. You have to readjust, you have to reassess, you have to come up with a new plan.
They're not for corruption now, but they
No.
understand that they made a deal with Ramaphosa. Part of the deal was whatever happened in the past happens in the past. The big screw up will be if there's something new that happens.
What happens then?
Then what happens? I don't know.
So if another Pala gets
Yes.
exposed, what do we do then? So the big question here, I don't know if you want to jump on this, is Paul Mashatile is accused of every crime you can imagine. I don't know if he committed them, but it does seem likely it's possible.
Yeah.
But if he's the deputy president again, there's also they're mooting this idea of a second deputy president. I think that's asinine, serves no purpose. And also they'd have to change the law or alter the Constitution
Yeah,
to do that.
I think
But
it looks good on paper, but it doesn't mean anything.
it doesn't mean anything. It's like Morgan Tsvangirai as prime minister in Zimbabwe. No real power.
Or like the clerk in Thabo Mbeki as deputy president.
Yeah,
of
it
Zimbabwe.
was yeah. So
Yeah.
so I mean, I think I argued this as the results came in on election night, and the next day we got kind of a firm feel that the IFP was the only major party that actually gained votes. Not many, 30,000, but they gained votes.
Well, the PA gained a lot.
Yeah, but they weren't a major party, 6,600 votes. in the
Well,
last
now
election.
they're a major party.
Well, let me finish.
Sure.
So, no, from 2019 results, the only major party that actually gained votes was the IFP, 30,000. The
Fair
DA lost 115,000. The ANC lost 4 million. They're like COVID viral particles. 4 million voters. So it's a small number, but the only party that actually gained was the IFP. But they did that in the face of MK and this cult of personality and all these Zuma supporters, some of whom probably would have voted for IFP, no doubt, in this election. But they gained almost 4%, which makes them credible. And so their leader is Velenkosini Hlabisa, who was mentored by Bantu Holomisa, by Mangosuthu
Buthelezi, yeah.
Buthelezi for decades. And my argument was the smart money, the right thing to do, which was never going to happen, is that the DA and the ANC are humble. Neither of them put a candidate forward because neither one of them got the majority, and they put Hlabisa forward. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I think that was the right move.
It would be the right, but it would never happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was an alternative arrangement that supposed to be people who are sort of quite right-wing, and also Joe Pollak, the American who worked for Tony Leon back in the day, worked for Breitbart, and he said, just kick the ANC out. Do MK, EFF, DA, everyone else, they get 51%, tell the ANC to go bugger off, and make it work.
That was another possibility because you got 60% of the vote that's out there that the ANC didn't get.
Which is interesting, but I just think they would have been
too fractious.
Far, like,
The night of the long knives every day, someone getting stabbed. I mean, it'd
All the time.
be like Nelson Mandela Bay when Athol Trout was the mayor.
That's right.
Every day, like trying to get him out of there.
So I think the most
But Athol's back now. He's in Parliament leading the Action SA.
Yeah, actually, so talk about a party that's not going to exist in 5 years. But I think what has happened is the most pragmatic, reasonable agreement. And I sort of called it like 2 years ago. There's a video on my channel, NCDA Coalition. People said I'm ridiculous.
No, in fact, when we sat here, when we talked last year, it was over a year ago now, you said ANC-DA is the best option.
It is the best option, yeah.
You did say that.
And I still think it is.
You did say that.
If mortal enemies get into
I
bed
remember.
and they don't trust each other, that's, a lot of marriages are like that, and they survive quite a long time.
Those are probably the marriages that actually last.
Yeah.
Not the ones where people are hopelessly in love.
No, you don't marry your best friend. You marry someone who you don't agree with, and then you sort of make it work over a period of time.
Opposite of you, and then it tends
Same
to
in
work.
business, same in, like if you get into bed with your friends, it's always a nightmare.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. If you get into bed
Yeah.
with your enemies, you already know each other in opposition. So it's more honest to me. More honest.
So there's a couple of things that I found really, it's sad, but actually comical when you look at it from a distance. The effort by Lindiwe Sisulu, by MK, by EFF, and by some of the RET factions still in the ANC to paint the Democratic Alliance as the offspring of apartheid, and also attack F.W. Clerk as part of apartheid when he's the guy that oversaw the transition.
That ended it, yeah?
Yeah, that ended it, but they're making out like he's some boogeyman. But I find it beyond hysterical for them to claim that they're the offspring of apartheid when the antecedent roots of the DA are actually the Progressive Party in 1959 that opposed apartheid. They fought against apartheid for decades. Not the DA because it didn't exist, but its antecedent roots, the things that became the DA. Meanwhile, the ANC actually merged with the National Party under von Skalkvik.
I mean,
So the antecedent roots of the ANC include the apartheid regime.
very much so. I mean, you had the last leader of the National Party being the tourism minister.
Yeah.
Or the deputy. Was he?
He was tourism.
He was
Von
tourism.
Skalkvik, yep.
Martin van Skalkvik. I mean, there was a merger of the NP in the Western Cape with the DA, which made it the DA. It was the DP before then.
Right.
But that was a marriage of convenience to kick out the ANC at the time. But I mean, this is the same. ANC is the same party that funds Eugene Blanche. What's his name? De Kock.
De Kock, yeah.
Yeah, they still pay his salary now after he's left prison.
Yep.
They let out Chris Haney's killers and all that, which is all good and fair. But if we look at who treated people from apartheid better, the ANC did by a huge margin.
By a country mile.
Which I think was a good thing.
No, it was probably the right thing.
Which was the right thing to do at the time. But I think what you're seeing, EFF, MK and all that, it seems to me, and I want your view on this, it seems to me like the last kick of a bit of a dying horse at the moment.
Yeah.
MK and Zuma, if he had the capacity, he would be burning KZN at the moment, but he's not. I don't think he can.
No, I don't think he can. And even if he tried,
yes,
not that they're capable, but SAPS and SANDF are actually deployed in positions which they should have been in 2021.
And communities since 2021.
Oh, well, of course, the communities know. Yeah. So don't come to Phoenix, boys.
I don't think, so I don't think MK is that powerful as people think it is. They had a thing last night, wasn't last night, or the night before, like a ridiculous claim, like 9 million votes for them weren't counted. I mean, if you... There might have been rigging. Maybe the election wasn't free and fair, but I mean, just make it reasonable, for God's sake. I mean, just say, we have real worries about this. We have all the evidence, but when we go to court, we're not going to show it to them.
But look, the whole argument is plausible.
Darling Porfu level.
Oh, that's what it is.
Legal analysis. That's all it is. It's Darling Porfu wanting to be in the news, and all these idiots in the Zuma clan are like, yeah, he's great. You know, he's lost every single case for them for the past 5 years.
Exactly.
I just don't get it.
What a great legal mind. No, but I mean, look, if you look at where their votes were, it's not surprising. KZN, they did very well. I thought they'd get 35%, but the polls were all over the place, so they got 45%.
They did much better than I thought.
They did better than I thought, so they impressive, well done. Nationally, I thought they'd get 7 to 13%. It was hard to guess.
Same.
And they came in at 14.5%, so they did better than anyone expected. But they did so by ruling in KZN by getting 18% of Mpumalanga, which was, I thought that was better than I thought they'd do. And I figured they get about 10% in Gauteng, which is what they did. Because a lot of Zulu up here who are sympathetic. Yeah. But if you look at the other parts of the country, 0.2%, 1%, it's not a surprise. So where are these other 9 million votes going to come from? That's ludicrous.
But there's 9 million people who voted in the entire election.
Well, yeah, and if you wonder why the ANC lost 4 million votes, look at the Eastern Cape. 50% turnout.
Really?
Yeah, 50.8% of the registered voters, not the eligible. That's why the ANC got crushed here. Plus the same thing in KZN. It wasn't just they lost to the MK. They lost people who just don't trust the ANC anymore. They're tired of this nonsense. So I think that's an important point to talk about there. But another one that's very interesting is just the sort of nonsense where all these people on MK and others are going, how did the DA do so well? I mean, are you paying attention?
They didn't do well.
The Democratic Alliance under Helen Zille in 2014 reached its zenith. Or as we say in American English, zenith. It reached its zenith, robot, traffic signal, whatever. Anyway, but at 4,091,000 raw votes. Under, they got 3,600,000. Under John Steenhuisen, they got 3,500,000. Yeah. So what do you mean all these votes? They're actually getting less votes. This just shows you the ignorance or the willful cognitive dissonance, or frankly the lying by people.
It is just lying.
Yeah, it's lying. There you go.
So I mean, coming from your country, there's this term called disinformation and misinformation and crap like that. Like this,
we didn't invent that.
If you use that term, you are a proxy for some NGO somewhere that created these terms, right? It's called lying. Right. If you don't believe in something, grow, so. If you don't believe in something, it's called a lie. But the one thing I need to say is, can we just acknowledge? Right, and people don't understand this. We are in Africa, Southern Africa.
Really?
We have a liberal party. It's so overtly liberal, like it makes me sick. But they are a liberal party, the DA, who gets 21% of the vote.
Right.
That's a miracle. Every election, don't you think? Like in where else in Africa or Asia is there a liberal party that gets 20% of the vote consistently every time, every 5 years?
Fair point.
Never. Lib Dems don't exist anymore. As an example. Yeah. There's nowhere else in Africa especially, but I would say in most of the world, where you have the same party with the same sort of leadership, same sort of values, same sort of policies, year after year after year, getting the seating, which is between 20 and 25% of the vote. And the DA should be I think they're quite happy actually with that, because they know that is the limit. if you count immigration out of here, which were mostly, I assume, are liberal whites or liberal blacks or liberal Indians, leaving because they go to weird liberal places.
Well, where they have a decent life and make money.
Yeah. So there's, how many people are there? 2 million? Those could have been DA voters, like a fair majority of them could be DA voters. So I think
that's a fair point.
Yeah, it's not bad for the DA that they managed to just keep holding on.
Yeah.
We're not a liberal country. We're a conservative country for the most part. But they still managed to do it. Like, kudos. Really.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. In the face of all that goes on, the media constantly against them here in this country.
Yeah.
And the nonsense we see now about, calling them colonizers, it's beyond the pale. Let's turn our attention a little further afield to a place that Byron is not so fond of, the United Kingdom.
What a conquered nation. I mean, the former
you like how they poked America in the eye?
The former
4th of July is when they're having their election. It's the day we told them piss off.
The former independent Republic of England, as I like to call it, now just
that's where English used to come from.
Now just colonized by everyone else. So the only good thing about England is Nigel Farage and Jeremy Clarkson, but the rest can die. I don't really care.
Yeah, okay, Jeremy Clarkson died, and Nigel Farage is a rock star. But yeah, no, it's the Conservatives are going to get pummeled, and they deserve it.
I think the Conservatives deserve to get 0 seats and they deserve to die.
Yeah, because they're not Conservatives. The Tories are destroyed.
It's 190 years old.
Maggie Thatcher is rolling in a grave.
So I think Maggie Thatcher actually started a lot of these problems.
Well, I didn't say she didn't start. I
by destroying the societies. But I mean, since 2019, when were they? They've been in power for 13 years. The Conservatives. Yeah. They let in how many? 3 million people in that amount of time. Last year alone. 600,000.
But they've been topped by Joe Biden.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
They're just pikers, man. That can't compare to what we're doing.
And your leader for the Conservative Party is a multi-millionaire who has a green card.
Who keeps his money in the Channel Islands.
He keeps money in the Channel Islands and has a residence in California. It's not Prince Harry, it's Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister.
You can have Prince Harry back.
That would be a good thing.
His annoying wife.
And if you look at this guy, he is the emptiest suit I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah. He's
John Major.
He's got with a tan. Nothing.
He's John Major with a tan.
Boris Johnson had.
Do you remember John Major?
Who?
Exactly. That's the problem.
Who? John Minor, you mean?
John Minor.
I'm joking. I don't know who it is.
No, he was the Prime Minister after Maggie.
Like Boris Johnson, had a landslide in 2019.
Yeah, but then he got Rona and he lost his mind.
He completely screwed it up in COVID.
Yeah, he was. I think when he got it, something happened to the guy. When he got the flu, he was a completely different person afterwards. Yeah, but Boris Johnson was a brilliant mayor of London. I was there during the London Olympics. It was incredible.
I think he's a brilliant man. I think he's very smart, very acute. He understands things very well.
Haircut.
No, but that's on purpose.
It's kind of a trademark. It gets his attention.
No, but all that is on purpose to make him look like a bumbling idiot, but he's not. But he just couldn't get it over the line. Theresa May was a failure. The only one who was interesting was Liz Truss, and then the finance world took her out because she actually wanted to have real reform. But they took her out before she could do any of that. And I think England's it's a dead country. I don't see it come back.
UK is gone.
UK is gone. And
I love the First Minister of Scotland. The judges are white. The politicians are white. The bureaucracy is white.
Yeah.
Dude, you're not in Nigeria. You're in frickin' Scotland. What do you expect to happen?
96% white population.
That's probably higher than that.
But he doesn't have. He's not in power anymore.
No, he's now gone because his bigotry and racism was exposed and people woke up to it.
But I think in Europe in general, you're looking at, especially these European elections the last week.
Yep.
I mean, the right wing, which is what we call centrists,
exactly.
What our grandparents thought of as usual behavior. Like, these people are gaining, but I don't think Europe can survive with the EU as it currently is. All the EU does is take American tech and regulates it. Like, that's it.
They sue Google and Microsoft and Apple every time you turn around.
Which might be good. I'm not a fan of these big tech companies.
Under control.
But the EU does nothing other than make Europe less competitive. Ukraine.
They steal liberty.
The Russia and Ukraine scenario has weakened Western Europe dramatically.
Yep.
Because of US sanctions that now everyone else is forced to impose. That's another thing for another story for another day. I think America likes
Not to mention the energy costs driven up.
I think America likes a weak Western Europe. And I don't blame America for that. I blame the weak leadership.
I don't think the Biden administration thinks that well.
Well, I mean, we know. who suffers by Nord Stream being blown up? Who suffers by rising energy costs? It's not America, right? It's the Western
Yeah, but we
Europeans.
ship a lot of stuff to Europe, and if they're not buying our crap, that doesn't help us.
Well, I mean, if you cut off supply there and you offer them the same thing at double the price, it's not much of a choice. But anyway, I'm not blaming America. Any other country would do the same thing. What I'm blaming
This
is
is not endorsed by the program.
what I'm saying is Western European leadership has been chronically weak for the past 30 years.
Oh,
And it's
100%.
really showing. You got the Greens coming in, shutting down nuclear energy in Germany.
Look at Germany, yeah, and they shut down.
That's just insane.
And the reason they did it because of Fukushima.
Yeah.
Here's a news flash for the Greens in Germany. Not a single nuclear power plant in Germany is built on the Ring of Fire.
Yeah, but they're building
Morons.
some in the Ring of Fire in Indonesia.
No, but the Japanese build nuclear power plants on the Ring of Fire next to the ocean, and they don't follow the shutdown procedures. That's why the thing melted down.
And still no one died from it.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like it's a great
So they
catastrophe.
glow at night. Get over it.
So my conspiracy is that, maybe it's you guys, but I think Russia and China actually fund a lot of the green guys in Europe
Somebody
to make
fund
them
them.
less competitive.
Well, the Greens.
Which is what I would do. Russia had a lot of propaganda against fracking in America and fracking in the Western Europe.
Oh,
right?
still he's put, oh, look, my spigot, I can light it. Dude, that's natural gas. It's methane, or methane, as they say in other parts of the world. That stuff comes out of the ground naturally from decomposing organic material. Guess what? Guess what? You've always had the ability to light your spigot in Appalachia. I know, I lived in Appalachia.
Yeah, but it was called like...
But you frack, you don't even, you go below that. Oh, geez, don't get me started.
A
You
lot of
can be
that-
getting so much energy from the Karoo here.
Oh, yeah. That's why he must vote for Gayton, because he wants that. He's the only guy who wants it. But
I
yeah,
thought he just wanted to be home affairs.
but hopefully. But what I'm looking at for the next 5 years, just to bring it back here, is energy independence. Once we have energy independence, South Africa can go really far.
So what, burning coal, small modular reactors?
Yeah, absolutely.
and natural gas?
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, we've got to help Andre a few solar panels too.
Oh, but that's coming anyway through the
Yeah, yeah,
residential. I've got solar panels.
People are trying to get off the grid so they can have electricity.
which is what I'm doing. Like
That's what I did.
I'm not an environmentalist. I just want.
Do you know what my electric bill was this month?
No.
$0.
Really?
That's how much solar I generate.
Mine-
It's summertime in Northern
Well,
Hemisphere.
mine too, because they didn't send me any. So
All right.
we're not the same.
You know what? We're co-equal here. It must be our white privilege.
They should have sent me a bill. I don't pay things I don't receive an invoice for. Come now.
It's like the ETOLs in Gauteng.
Yeah. What invoice? I don't remember seeing one.
All right, let's wrap up here in a few seconds, but let's turn attention to a place that I'm obviously familiar with and you follow. The United States. Any thoughts or prediction of the Trumpster? How's he going to do?
I think South Africa should send election observers to make sure that your election is free and fair.
I invite them to my polling station in Pennsylvania.
Because
We'll have a bribe.
We have set the standard for a free and fair election, non-violent, democratically consensual
Not according to
election.
MK.
Yeah, but who cares about that? Compared to other elections around the world in the previous 4 years, I think these ones are very good. So I think I agree with you. Trump landslide. I can't see. I mean, unless
At least an electoral landslide.
very much so. I think they're going to try bring. I don't know if Biden's going to go all the way through. I just have my doubts. Like they know how much of a what you call it, a hindrance he is. I mean, everyone can absolutely see when they say, "Oh, you know, in public he's really good, but in the background he's slipping." So, no, mate. Like we've seen it for like 20 years. The guy's
Barry grabbed him the other day when he was tagging
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think there's enough amphetamines to keep Biden going to the election.
And I think it's disgraceful to do that to someone.
it's horrible. It's elder abuse.
I don't like him, but
He
I
should
think
be in a
it's-
home.
yeah, I think it's disgraceful.
He should be at home getting proper care.
They should have brought Gavin Newsom 5 years ago.
Oh, good Lord.
He would have
Newsom, Gabby Newsom.
He would have been pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
He would have been pretty interesting, and he has the capacity to lie with an open face, like to a degree
he has
that
no compassion.
I've never seen before.
It's
And
amazing.
It is amazing.
And look, I mean, he's already destroyed California, so why not America?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's happening with or without him, but I can't see Trump losing this. And I think the more they persecute him for things that don't exist, for crimes that don't exist, I think the more popular he gets. I just look at his rallies. I look at what he's saying. He's so confident. I just don't see how they're going to take him out
Wow.
of this election.
I'm with you
That's
100% on that. So, Roman, it's always a pleasure. Good to see you here again in
Chris,
an
thank you.
undisclosed location somewhere
Yeah.
in the Northern Cape. Anyway,
Very much so.
congratulations with Morning Shot and the
Thank you.
credible journalism that you're doing there. I think it's pretty
very
cool.
kind.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, cheers.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
All right, folks, we'll catch you later. Got another live stream coming up in just a few minutes. Take care of yourselves. Be sure to hit the like button. Hey, listen, it costs you nothing but a moment of your time. If you're not a subscriber, why not? What are you waiting for? It's free. Just do it. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you shortly.